Yes, that was Tim. Tim the Pilgrim. I like to say it more like Tim the Pilgrim. That makes it rhyme a little bit better. Maybe Tim meant it that way. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he's just an actual pilgrim. Maybe he comes from a long line of pilgrims that entered the United States. I guess did some evil things, but they did bring us Thanksgiving. I don't remember the history of Thanksgiving. I'm sure whatever we learned in elementary school here was much nicer than the actual story. Probably involved a lot less death, a lot less rape. Oh, wow. That was Tim the Pilgrim. Some days you just got to play a guitar, man. You don't need much more than your guitar. History has shown us in the music world that a guitar is very powerful. A guitar really is a very powerful instrument if you think about it. Like, I would argue that at least in the past 50 years, there's a lot of glory in guitar. Like, if a guy was going to pick up an instrument in order to get a girl, maybe nowadays he picks up a laptop and plays dubstep music or techno music or whatever. But in the past 50 to even 70 years, I would say guitar is probably the most prevalent. I'm going to just hold this guitar and learn a few chords because I want to get women instrument. Maybe that had some kind of effect on me as a kid. You know, I've heard many comedians say that everything a man does is to get a woman. Dave Chappelle said if a man could fuck a woman in a cardboard box, he wouldn't buy a house. So I may think that I love music. I may think that I'm into the rhythm and the beat. I guess we get the ability to have rhythm from our heartbeat. I've always been intrigued by that. How the fuck can we, how do we have this? Well, some of us I guess don't, but we have this natural ability to cut time into these even segments. Like if you told me, make a noise every 0.7 seconds, it would sound like quite a daunting task to get it accurately. But once you get a rhythm going, it's very easy. Why is that? I have no idea. But considering the heartbeat is the rhythm of life, time moves to a rhythm. Every second is the same length of time. The world turns in the same amount of time every day, creating months, creating years, creating decades, creating centuries and millenniums. Rhythm is the basis of life. And what also is the basis of human life is reproduction. So I guess the feeling of rhythm and wanting to move to the rhythm is really just the feeling of wanting to reproduce. And what do you reproduce when you what do you do when you reproduce? You fuck. So everything we do musically is ultimately for the sake of fucking. I don't know if that made any sense. It's not like I wrote that out. I'm not reading an outline that I wrote in college about my deepest beliefs. I'm just saying shit. But yeah, speaking of music, quick update on my my professional life. I've been doing a lot of music recently. I'm working on the new Wax album. Been working on that almost every day for the past week, even though I've been sick as fuck. You might hear it now in my voice. I don't know. Today's Wednesday, but this past weekend, especially Sunday and Monday, I was really sick. Got like a sinus, like an ear, nose, and throat thing. It's nice, man, it is nice to not have kids. You know, when my brother, when he gets sick, if you don't know my brother, I have a twin brother, and he has 2 children. He's got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, both boys. Now, if he gets sick, he can't do what I did Sunday. Sunday, I just took a bunch of NyQuil and I just laid on the couch and pretty much made myself unconscious for like 24 hours straight, in and out of consciousness. And I don't know if it was helpful or not. You know, you think it's helpful to get a lot of rest, but I remember learning from a doctor. I was on the road. I was on tour many years back, and as almost everybody, almost every tour, at least once you get sick. And this one tour, I was in Atlanta, and I was extremely sick. So luckily we had a day off, so I figured I'd just take a bunch of NyQuil and just lay down and try to let the shit pass. But it turned out it got way worse because, you know, if you're in a room, if you specifically have like a sinus infection type of deal and you lay in a room for 24 hours that doesn't have the proper circulation, it can actually make it worse. And that's what happened that day. And maybe that's what happened Sunday. I have no idea. But you know, if you got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old kid, you can be sick as a dog. There's no sick days with kids. You know, your wife can pick up if you're lucky enough to have a partner that's raising the children with you, they can pick up a little bit of your slack. But you know, they probably resent it. They probably resent picking up the slack. They're probably it's probably like a barter system. Like, oh, he's just gonna lay down. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Oh, wah, wah, wah. Sniffle, sniffle, sniffle. So next time she's sick, she probably acts like she's sicker than she is. Goes into the room, pretends she's going to sleep. She's in there watching soap operas, eating chocolates. I don't know. But I was sick. But still, I managed to work almost every day on my I'm working on 3 projects right now. Well, really 4. The one project I'm working on is finished, but I'm working on editing a music video and doing I'm in the different stages of all these projects. This side project that me and Davey have this group called Caviar, where we do all 80s music. It's a 5-song EP. It's mixed and mastered, ready to go. Now we're doing the art, and we're thinking promo, and we're editing the video for the first signal, which is fucking fire. It's going to be one of the best music videos I've ever done. I don't even know how we're putting it out, because it's not really a Wax project. It's a side project, man. It's a new band. I'm in a band now, dude. Back when I was young, you couldn't be in a band with 2 people. Unless you granted, this was later, but the White Stripes is 2 people. But, a producer and a singer was not considered a fucking band back in the day. Nowadays, that's a band. So me and Davey have that coming out. Should be out within the next month and a half or so, depending on the speed of this video edit. Also working on, as I mentioned last week, the bitch-ass acoustic album. Working on my acoustic album. That's the main thing I've been working on the last week or so. Making tons of progress. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great listen. As I said last week, every Monday this summer, tune into my YouTube and my Facebook. Either one. Acoustic Mondays. Every Monday I'm going to be putting out an acoustic song. Started this past Monday, 2 days ago. Check that out if you haven't seen it. The song is called Turtle. I Wish I Was a Turtle. Kind of a weird one to start with. It's a little bit of a ridiculous song, but they're all going to be kind of mellow like that. Don't expect me to be sitting in my backyard with my acoustic guitar thrashing away. They're all going to be mellow. And every Monday this summer, June, July, and August, I'll be putting out a new one. I think from now on, I'm going to be a little bit more profesh. A little bit more profesh with the audio. I think I'm going to put a couple mics out in the backyard rather than just using the iPhone audio, because it was a little the guitar kind of stepped on the voice here and there. And I think I'm supposed to be a professional, right? I'm supposed to be a professional musician. Right? That's what I am. So I'm going to try to I'm going to shoot some probably Friday. Hopefully my sinus cavity, my nasal passageway will be much more clear. And I'll shoot a couple more of those. I already got most of the songs. So in good shape. And once that Acoustic Monday thing is done, the hope, which I think is very attainable at this point, is that right after that I'll put out the album. The bitch-ass acoustic album, B.A.A. Was that right? B.A.A. B.A.A. Yeah. So, that's where I'm at with that. The other project I'm working on is me and my brother are working on an EP with Lack of Afro, producer over in London. Or he's not in London, he's in the UK. I think he's in Brighton. I don't fucking know. I don't know the UK geography that well. No fucking idea. But that shit is sounding nice. And then last of all, I'm trying to finally finish just this one song that I never finished, that I work on for 1 second every couple months. So I'm trying to finish that this week too. And to top it all off, I'm writing comedy. I'm doing some stand-up. So I'm pretty busy creatively, man. I also have a podcast. You're currently listening to it. If you're hearing this, you're currently listening to Wax's podcast. Maybe I fucked up. This is the 5th year. Well, this is the 4th. I don't know. The 5th year. The 5-year anniversary of the podcast is coming up later this year. And looking back, I have this song from many years ago called I Should Have Tried Harder. And maybe that applies to Wax's podcast. If I could have put a little bit more energy into it, maybe had some guests, try to get some sponsors, try to promote it. Maybe it could be bigger than it is. Maybe it could be better than it is. But I got to be honest, man, I kind of prefer Wax's podcast being as it is. It's kind of like, it's niche. It's niche. You either listen to my podcast or you fucking don't. And if you don't, take a hike. Don't let the door hit you where the Lord split you. See you later, Tim. Peace out, Billy. Go fly a kite, Brock. I don't need you anyway, David. I don't fucking know. Brock. That was a nice name to come up with on the fly. It's pretty interesting. My brother's kids go live in San Diego, and they go to a school where most of the kids are Latin American, generally Mexican. And a new trend in the Mexican community, maybe inspired by fear, is all those like standard new white people names: Austin, Caden, Tyler, Dylan. All the kindergarten age Mexican kids in San Diego have names like that. I thought that shit was funny. Where am I at? I don't have anything written down, I don't think, to tell you guys. I have my sickness. In sickness and in health. Wax's podcast is like, well, it's not like this at all because I often skip it, but I was going to say it's like a marriage. In sickness and in health, it's also like the postal service. Whether rain, snow, sleet, or hail, Wax's podcast will always fail. Whether rain, hail, snow, or sleet, Wax's podcast can't be beat. Sleet, hail, snow, or rain, Wax's podcast. Are you insane? Why would you listen to that? They say it's Wax's podcast. Go away. Turn your back on me, Brock. Wax's podcast. Eat a cock. That was a poem I wrote. It took me many years to write that poem. I started writing it in 1998, I believe. I always knew I'd have a podcast, even in 1998, before podcast. Did podcasts exist in 98? When's the advent of podcasts? When was the podcast invented? It must have been after the iPod was invented, because it wouldn't have. It was in reference to the iPod, right? Let me see. Podcast invention. Podcast invention. When was it fucking invented? Excuse me. Podcasting, this is from Wikipedia. Podcasting, first known as, quote, audio blogging, unquote. Whoa, what are you doing, fucking internet browser? Has its roots dating back to the 1980s. With the advent of broadband internet and portable digital audio playback devices such as the iPod, podcasting began to catch hold in late 2004. Today, there are more than 115,000 English-speaking podcasts available on the internet and dozens of websites available for distribution at little or no cost to the producer or listener. Wow. What if for the rest of the podcast I just used that voice and read the entire history of podcasting Wikipedia? Precursors. Before the advent of the World Wide Web, in the 1980s, RCS, Radio Computing Services, provided music and talk-related software to radio stations in a digital format. Now, I'm not going to do that, but I will say, when it comes to the history of podcasting, I don't know where I'm going with that. Do I have anything else to talk about? Is there anything else going on in the world? There's so much shit going on in the world with like Donald Trump and all that shit that I can't even keep up. What else happened this week? Anything? What did I do? I sat on Sunday. I fucking took NyQuil most of the day. I watched the new Sarah Silverman special on Netflix, which I don't recommend. Granted, I missed the entire middle of the special because I was kind of in and out on NyQuil. But I know that the end of it, I was like, okay. She like calls a guy from the audience. He's like that believes in God, and like her final bit is like, she's like, well, let me ask you something. Would you let God come in your mouth? And everybody dies laughing like it's the funniest shit. I don't know. I don't get it. But I really shouldn't even be talking about that because, like I said, I was tripping out on NyQuil. So what the fuck do I know? It's hard to do stand-up comedy, man. It's not easy to make people laugh standing up there, rather. You could sit up there. Sit-down comedy. But it's very fun. It's a very fun thing to do. So I've been trying it. What else is I feel like right now I'm doing it, and I feel like I'm bombing. So what else is going on? What else is going on, guys? Have you seen this? Did you know that Donald Trump, man, he's fucking he's too much, man. I can't pay attention anymore. Every day it's like breaking news, huge story, and it just becomes the essence of what is the boy who cried wolf? Like every day there's a huge story. You know, last week he did that shit where like it was viral for a couple of days. Covfefe. Donald Trump tweeted, despite the negative press, COVFEFE, and that was it. As if he like fell asleep while he was tweeting. And everybody thought it was so funny. But I heard some guy say, like, some news guy was like, yeah, well, you know, his other finger's next to the nuclear button. Maybe what if he just fucking falls asleep like an idiot? It's that. Not saying that would literally happen, but I think metaphorically that's important. This guy's reckless. He's fucking reckless. Anyway. Fuck, man. Podcast, I don't have a lot of stories to tell you this week. Did I go anywhere? No, not really. Did I do anything? Just worked on music. Did anything interesting happen? I mean, in the world, I'm sure. Let's move on for now. Let's move on to questions and shout outs. And maybe, I believe there was a couple interesting questions that you guys sent me that might spark some discussion, spark some debate, spark some curiosity. All right. Well, let's see if we can get some stuff started. You know, it's Wednesday. I've been sick for a few days. I haven't had a lot of thoughts. Haven't had a ton of interesting thoughts. I guess I have been thinking. You know, my brain is not dead. But let's go to Nick Shea. If you haven't been paying attention, Nick Shea is a young man from Boston, and he is driving. He's riding his bicycle from Boston down to New Orleans, and he's making long stops in between. I think he just stayed in New York City for like a week. All right, let's see what he has, what his update is here. Yo, Wax, helping to answer that dude last week who was wondering how to start rapping or whatever. I like how you said to rap other people's songs. When I first got into rapping and wanted to figure out my own flows, I would rap other people's songs on different beats. I looked up the lyrics to Protect Your Neck by Wu-Tang and rapped all the verses over a Ludacris beat. Wish I still had the recording of that. So that was his was his first paragraph there. What Nick is talking about is last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago on the podcast, somebody asked about just how to, like, I guess how to learn to rap. And my advice to him, and I think this is usually something you do. I think if you want to rap, this is kind of something you just do naturally than really think about it. Like when you're young and you first start hearing rap music, you kind of, without really thinking about it, you kind of memorize the lyrics of your favorite songs and rap along to them. Just like if you were a singer, you start by singing along to when you hear fucking Ariana Grande's song on the radio, you're like, sing along to it. Then you're all of a sudden you're in the shower and you're singing it without the song on. Then you're getting good at it. Then you're in chorus class. Then you're in a traveling choir. Then you have a solo in the choir. Then all of a sudden you're writing your own lyrics with melodies that you like to sing. Blah 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 blah. It starts with imitation. Nothing comes from nothing. It all comes from influence. You find your own voice by kind of like trying on other people's voices. I mean, you might be born with your own kind of thing, but I mean, whatever. You know what the fuck I'm saying. Also, to answer your question, I met those people I mentioned through a website called warmshowers.org. It's for people riding bikes long distances. Other bike people open up their houses to people so they have a safe place to sleep, shower, maybe do laundry, eat, etc. Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Nick. I think that's amazing. Kind of makes me want to take this trip. I'd like to bike across America. I'm kind of realizing through you, Nick, that there's like, there's if you look on a map, there's highways and roads, but if they have separate maps, they have bike trails that can get you about anywhere. Like you don't have to ride on the side of the road for every time you go somewhere. Obviously, you can't really ride on the side of like I-95. Can you? I don't know. I have no fucking idea. But when I said I was going to be honest with you, I was going to say warmshowers.org in more ways than one is a very creepily named website. My first thought, of course, was a warm golden shower, an organization that provides warm golden showers for young bicyclists. My second thought is just like, hey man, if you're a bicycle related website, why you got to start with showers? What's going on here, man? Why you want me to come to your house and get naked? But I will say that is what one would most desire. If you're fucking biking 30 miles every day and sleeping in a tent in your own filth, I would imagine your number one desire, because you can find food on the road. You can sleep in your tent or under a fucking bridge somewhere. But you're not going to be able to find somebody to pee on you. You're not going to be able to find a warm shower just like that. Oh, they do have truck stops where you can make that happen, but who wants to go in there? You know what I mean? Who knows what's going to happen in those warm showers? Okay, so but that's where, if you're interested in doing a bike trip like Nick is doing, warmshowers.org is almost like a free Airbnb type of situation for fellow cyclists. I like it. Definitely sounds like with the wrong people, something could go awry with warmshowers.org, but maybe I'm still in that old school mentality where people meeting each other on the internet and saying, "Hey, stay at my house," is creepy. It's not creepy. It's fucking dope. It's well intentioned and brotherly. But when shit like that happens, the creeps take advantage, The creeps take advantage. The creeps take advantage and come into your house and you pee on their face. Warmshowers.org. It's where you fucking click if you want to take a shower. Pee coming fresh out of a... Hey. Anyways, I'm going to be in NYC for a few more days. Been going through a lot of ups and downs. Feeling pretty down right now. Oh, shit, Nick. That sucks. Spent the morning climbing and drawing, tagging on rooftops with my friend. Then I went out to ride my bike around the city by myself and just felt really down. I bought some records yesterday and have been buying food. I've been feeling like I'm not spending the money that was donated to me how I'm supposed to. I don't even know what I think I'm supposed to do with it. I think I'm using it for all the right things, but I just feel guilty when I buy $12 worth of pizza and other things. But they are things I really want and unique to New York City. I won't spend my money at a Fridays or anything. I don't think I should worry about how people think I should spend the money. It's to be spent in some way on this trip, whether on a train ticket or a cannoli. I've also, for some reason, suddenly been thinking a lot about my ex-girlfriend and all the mean things she said and did to me. Nothing was ever good enough for her, and she always made me feel like shit. Her puss smelt like my butthole, not exaggerating. Wow. Me and her went to NYC last summer, so I guess that's making me think of it while I'm here. Any advice on moving forward with the ex-girlfriend thing? I keep thinking I should just go home. It's only been a week today. Not sure what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm just disappointing people if I don't go the whole way and do crazy things all over the place. I don't know. I've been having a weird day, just very low energy. I have discovered that white pizza is the best pizza in New York. Deli omelets are good. A man offered me, quote, mountains of blow, unquote, if I went with him to his crib in Brooklyn. I didn't go with him. Saw the band Tuxedo live last night. Really good. Watched a man take off his pants and underwear on the sidewalk. Please field me at least one question a week so I can make sure the updates are good. How are they so far? Let me know. I actually think the updates are great, Nick. I think these are great, and it's interesting. When I was your age, because Nick is 20 right now. When I was 20, I took a similar trip, except it was with a car, not with a bike. But I was by myself. I lived in Maryland at the time. Me and my brother had my parents' old minivan, and we shared it. But at this point in time, I took it, and I was just like you. I had a probably worse than you. I had an ex-girlfriend issue. I had a breakup, depression issue, and I was just kind of like. Plus, when you're 20, you're kind of like feeling out life and becoming a man. You know what I mean? To figuring out who you are. And I drove from Maryland all the way to San Diego, up through LA. I stayed in San Francisco for a week. Then I drove back down. I went all the way around, stayed in Florida for a while, came back up. I was gone for like almost a month. And I think there's something natural about like when you get out of a relationship to want to just, especially your first heartbreak, you kind of feel like leaving. You kind of feel like leaving where you're at. And I can see why if you took a trip with her to New York City that it would bring back those kind of emotions and shit like that. That's unfortunate about her vagina smell. I mean, it was unfortunate back then. If you're not with her anymore, great. It's strange how I'm not going to go off on this aside, but vaginas are very different from each other. They widely vary. You know what I mean? And that's literally and figuratively. But the scent varies widely. I'm not gonna go too far into that. Anyway, as far as let me just go through everything you said. As far as first of all, I wonder if the guy that offered you to the mountains of blow was he from warmshowers.org? Probably not. Good for you for not going with him. That sounded. That's the kind of thing you got to avoid when you're by yourself on a trip like that. People are going to try to take advantage of you. As far as if you guys don't know, Nick put together a GoFundMe for his trip. Not sure. I think he had like $1,500, which is a significant amount of money. And like I agree with what you said. I don't think you need to be going to. I like that you use Fridays as like the example, like the high class restaurant. But I don't think that you should be going. I don't think you should use the money to buy frivolous things. Like I don't think you should be buying like fucking Cristal bottles with it. But I think if you're in New York and you buy pizza, I think that's totally acceptable. I mean, shit, New York pizza is one of the things you got to do when you're in New York is eat the pizza. It's actually one of the cheapest things you can get in New York City, food-wise. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at you for that. I think people want you to just enjoy yourself and not worry too much about the money. I think that that's not bad at all. I think what you should do if you feel guilty I think if you feel like you need to earn the money that you made, I think which you're probably already doing. I think that you just owe it to yourself and the donators to keep some type of record. Just keep like a small journal you can email yourself. I'm sure you're already doing something like that. But if you just keep a record of it, I think that's the way to go. And maybe when you're back, you can put together like a blog post that's a summary of everything you said. If not, just a direct documentation, a direct copy of what you documented. As far as the girlfriend thing, man, as far as any advice on moving forward, as I've told people before, and I've had to remind myself many times, the only thing that heals like breakup shit is time. You'll be thinking about the girl all the time. You'll be sad about her, blah, blah, blah. And then like a couple months later, you'll kind of be like, whoa, I haven't thought about her in days. Then a while later, you'll be like, I don't care about her, The only thing that helps is time. It's really just like an injury to the body. An injury to the heart. It's just like a broken heart. A broken heart, this is actually a pretty good way of saying it, actually. A broken heart's really just like a broken leg. It's going to be fucked up for a while. It's got to heal. Then after a while, you won't even remember that you broke it. And it will heal stronger than it ever was. Wow. That ain't good advice. Okay, what else did you say? I already emailed you this, Nick, but dude, don't turn around. Just keep going, man. Push through it. Push through the feeling that you have. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe you should go with your instincts and turn around. Who knows? Maybe there's some awful shit awaiting for you in North Carolina. I have no fucking idea, but I think if you're going to do it, especially considering you got money from people, I'd just run with it, dude. Just bike with it. Pedal with it. As far as me feeding you a question, I want to personally, I don't know how the listeners of the podcast feel, but I want to know a little bit more about the actual biking. Like what trails do you take? How do you know where, what roads to take or bike trails to take? Are there other people on these bike trails that are kind of having similar things as you, as like do you meet other people that are like, yeah, I started in Maine and I'm headed to Florida? Like, I don't know too much about that long distance bicycle trip world, and I'm interested in it. That sounds like something that it sounds like a cool idea. It's also, if you take a long road trip and you're stopping at rest stops or eating Sbarro and Chick-fil-A, like, you're just gonna be a fat fuck. If you take a long ass bike trip, especially if you probably eat a little bit healthier, you're eating trail mix and shit. By the end of it, you're going to be fucking ripped. You're going to have calves of steel. You know what I'm saying? I want to know more about the actual biking. How difficult it is. How do you know where you're going? Are there other people that you talk to on these trails? Are the trails scenic? Are they beautiful? I want to know stuff like that, Nick. So that's what I want to know. So there's our update for the week with Nick Shea. Cycling across America. All right, shout-outs this week. We only have a couple. We got Shoebox Dave. Shoebox Dave, who I think emailed me when he was drunk because his shit was a little all over the place. But he wants the listeners to know that he's back. He's back. We got Will D. We got Mark G. Aaron the Violinist. Clones 3K. And Jesse W. By the way, shout out to Ghost in the Pines, a.k.a. Marion, owner of the official restaurant of Wax's podcast, the Texas Road Stand. Go check it out down in Cedar Creek, Texas. The Texas Road Stand. And I still haven't posted that picture on my Instagram. Fuck. You can go there and order the Wax's Podcast Burger. That's right. The Wax's Podcast Burger. And I'm still waiting for just one person that lives near Austin or is traveling through Austin to go to the Texas Road Stand and tell them that Wax's Podcast sent you. Can that happen one time? Is there anybody down there that can make that happen? It looks delicious. You'd be doing yourself a favor. And Marion said that no matter what you get, you can get it branded with the Wax branding iron. Speaking of wax merchandise, boy, oh boy, this is something I forgot to mention. I just finished. I still got to make a promotional video, but it was so popular last year that I think this year I'm going to do another episode. Not an episode. I'm going to recontinue the online garage sale. I have I have some merch left over from my tour I did this year. Got some posters, some stickers, and some CDs. I also got some rolling papers, wax rolling papers. And just arrived, fresh off the presses, I got some Wax's Podcast t-shirts. That's right, Wax's Podcast t-shirts. Real simple. Real simple. It's like those shirts where, like, if you had a pocket on your t-shirt, it just says the logo right there. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy. The kind of thing you'd wear to the gym. Might wear to work on a casual Friday. Might wear to work any day if you kind of have a casual attire type of job. Be a great thing to wear to the gym, to sleep, to yoga class, whatever you do. It's not a fancy shirt. It's an unassuming shirt. It's just your average shirt. Just like Wax's Podcast is an unassuming, average podcast. But you know what? Sometimes the best things in life aren't necessarily the flashiest. Yeah, you can get a diamond ring. Yeah, you can get a gold watch. But you know what? I'd rather have a fucking Casio one because I don't feel like looking at the fucking hands. I'd rather see the digital one, just like a fucking microwave. Anyway, where the fuck was I? All right, so yeah, so keep a lookout in the next couple of days. I'm gonna put out a video, and I'm gonna open up shop. And I wish I could. Can I? I don't know. I was gonna say if there's some way I can hook you guys up. I do have the Patreon, patreon.com/bigwax. You know, I feel a couple different ways about my Patreon. I got a letter that I read last week where somebody thought, you know, $5 is too much, especially, you know, you go back to last week if you want to hear me talk about that. You know what? If you don't want to donate that much, don't. My roommate Davey said, you know what? Don't feel bad about it. If somebody doesn't want to give you a donation, they don't have to. If somebody wants to, they can. The option is there. There's no need for you to feel bad. I'm not going to sit here and promote the Patreon all the time. I'm fine just making whatever it's at right now. I'm fine making that much. But if you are on the $5 Patreon list right now, I already screenshotted the names, and on my next album, you'll be in the thank you section regardless. I think since the shit's coming out at the end of the year, like if you're on there by like July or August or something, you'll be in the thank you section. I don't know. I'm not fucking professional, okay? All right. Let me read an email that goes along with what I'm talking about. This is from Jack L. He labels himself Jack L, podcast listener. Wax. Since you're making podcast shirts, I have a recommendation for the listeners. Get a Wax t-shirt. I have a few Wax t-shirts, and let me tell you something. These are the best t-shirts I own. These shirts are so resilient, withstanding years of washing cycles. They are very form-fitting without sacrificing comfort. So if you want to look good as fuck in a t-shirt, it's all about Wax. Plenty of motherfuckers trying to merchandise. They go around selling some bullshit. You probably have some t-shirts that feel like a burlap sack, scratchy and rough. If you check the tag, it probably says Gildan on it. I would have said Beefy Tee. I wouldn't use a Gildan shirt to wash my car or even wipe my ass. They're so sandpapery. Wax don't sell no fucking Gildan. Let me reassure you, he's only selling the good shit. So yeah, if you're in the market for a quality shirt that fits well, feels great, and goes the distance, get yourself a Wax t-shirt. Jack L, podcast listener. Well, thank you, Jack. I appreciate you saying that because I want to extend your thought. Since I've been selling shirts, ever since I started selling shirts, when I first started selling the Wax and Herbal Tea Fly With Us shirts, you know, I was in a band for years, and we used to sell the bullshit. We used to because our trumpet player who did a lot of the merchandising, he would be looking for like, how can I only spend $3 on a shirt? How can I make the shirt? How can I make my cost as cheap as possible? Let me tell you something. It's not how you run a business. Ever since I've been selling Wax and Herbal Tea, the Fly With Us shirts, which we started selling in 2008 or something, I made sure that you know, when you buy a shirt, A, you want it to look cool, and B, you want it to feel good. And the best quality shirts have always been American Apparel shirts. I've always used American Apparel no matter what. There was one time, what was it, when me and EOM did we do a Liquid Courage t-shirt, and we fucked up. We used some local company in LA, and they had these big ass fucking shirts, and they're kind of you know, they were kind of whack. So I take, besides the Liquid Courage shirts that we did, every other Wax, every Scrub Life shirt since then has been on American Apparel. And I will say, unfortunately, in the last year, American Apparel is no more. So my t-shirt guy, he's like, I got the company that's the next best thing. I can't remember the name of the company, but the Wax's podcast shirts are on those, and they're dope, comfortable ass shirts. Now the thing, this what I'm about to say next is for people that, you know, maybe you're an aspiring rapper. Maybe like the guy who emailed last week that Nick Shea was talking about. We have a lot of aspiring rappers on this show. Aspiring musicians in general, like Mike from Long Branch, New Jersey. Ryan M., the songwriter. Also have a lot of visual artists. A lot of visual artists on the show that might actually want to put their art directly on a t-shirt. Now, when you go to sell t-shirts, when you get a bunch of them printed, a lot of you are going to make this mistake. You're going to say, well, after all is said and done with the artwork, the screen printing, and the cost of the shirt, for me to get this quality shirt, it's like $9. Now I could get this other shirt, and it's $4. Get the one that costs $9. Make less profit, and get quality shirts. If you plan on, first of all, from a business standpoint, if you plan on having if you're like a niche artist, a niche. If you're a niche, got a wish. That sounds dumb. Niche. I'm a niche. I'm a beast. I'm from the east. Rise up like yeast. Get in between the crease. What the fuck? It's such a good syllable. If you're a niche artist, a lot of your business, business is just like this podcast. Granted, my podcast is growing. It's growing in listenership all the time. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what it is. It's like it's the only thing I have. My Twitter followers go down every week, believe it or not. They go down every fucking week. I think it's partially that a lot of the spam is getting located, partially that I tweet negative shit about Donald Trump, and I probably have a couple repubs that are repug. Repug was the wrong word, but that are. But what is it when they're disgusted by me? I'm repugnant to them. But anyway, they don't follow me on Twitter anymore. But my podcast it goes up all the time. It's getting more popular. I don't know why. Anyway, but for the most part, the people that listen to my podcast are repeat listeners. My listeners have been listening. You know, they didn't just listen to this episode. They downloaded the last one too. And if you're an independent rap artist, for example, if you make t-shirts and then a year later you make t-shirts again, about 50% of the motherfuckers who are going to buy a t-shirt bought the last one too. And if they bought the last one, it was on some Gildan beefy tee, scratchy sandpaper shit where the sleeves was too big and the fucking every time they lifted up their arms, their fucking midriff showed. They ain't gonna buy the second one. You gotta make the shirts dope. Make it so people want to wear them. Like, you know, you have those shirts that, like, I got for example, and I'm about to give props to somebody that fucking deserves it. I was in Denver on the last tour. There's a medical marijuana dispensary. My boy Chris runs this medical marijuana dispensary called Good Chemistry. It's in Denver. It's one of the dopest, hey, pun intended, one of the dopest medical marijuana dispensaries there. Great place. He gave us a bunch of free shit. He gave us way too much free shit, honestly. It was extremely generous, but he's been a fan for years. And besides the product, He gave me a hoodie and he gave me 2 T-shirts. He gave us everybody. He hooked everybody up with shit. But these T-shirts, I wear these T-shirts like I when I do my laundry. But the first T-shirt I wear will be these Good Chemistry T-shirts. And it's not just that I am down to promote his business. It's not just that it looks cool. It's just comfortable. It's an amazing T-shirt. Like, you want your T-shirts to be like that. Like, people will buy your first one just because they want to support you. But they won't buy another one of your shitty, trying to save money ass T-shirts. So you got to make the T-shirt on Good Material is what I'm telling you. Shout out to my man Chris. If you're ever in the Denver area, head over to Good Chemistry. Just thinking about that trip. We had like 3 days off in Denver. Me and DJ Skits, Palmer Squares. It was a great time. Went bowling. I remember specifically that we went bowling. Anyway, yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up what the fuck I was talking about as far as these T-shirts. All right, we got Trevor R. It's from Trevor R. Sorry, this is a week late. Probably about 4 weeks late by the time you read it. But when the homie wrote in again about the Rambutans, it reminded me about an email I forgot to write last week. When you were reading about all the weird fruit and kept saying Rambutan. God, my nose is still clogged up. Sorry. I have to pause. I have to pause in between sentences because I have to breathe out of my fucking mouth. When you were reading about all the weird fruit and kept saying Rambutan over and over, I kept thinking about the song Black Betty and thought I had it in my head for about a minute. I audibly said, "Whoa, Black Betty Rambutan," at the exact moment you did in the podcast. It was just interesting how our brains arrived at the same association at the same time, relatively speaking, of course. Obviously not at the exact same moment, but from the point where we more or less introduced the word Rambutan to injecting into you spelled something wrong there. Black Betty was the same moment. Yeah, it's weird. Rambutan made me think of that. And it's I actually have a line in a song that references that exact same thing. I got this song called Chunky where I said, make you memorize instinctively. It's random, fam. Like, whoa, Black Betty. And you say, and then I just leave it blank. And there's something about that Rambalam and anything that sounds like that makes you think of that song. They really took ownership of that. It's cool when people take ownership of something via music. Like, for example, I saw the other day that Webster's Dictionary has officially given a definition in Webster's Dictionary to the word stan. The word stan, of course, created by Eminem, meaning, you know, he wrote a song about this dude named Stan that was like this crazy fan. So now people call crazy fans stans. You know, if you love Ariana Grande, you're an Ariana Grande stan. The same thing happened with Nas. You know, he had that song called Ether. So now if you ever fight somebody or rap battle somebody or just beat somebody in anything, like, damn, you ethered that motherfucker. I had a similar thing the other day. I actually texted Watsky the other day because Watsky's thing is Steel Wool Productions. That's the name of his company. So like whenever I use steel wool, I think of Watsky. I tried to do that same thing with Scrub Life. I had the Spork. The Spork is my logo, and I was thinking like, yeah, now anytime somebody uses a Spork, they'll think of me. But you know, if I was fucking smarter, I would have just used a fork. Because how often do you really use sporks? Anytime somebody's at KFC and orders mac and cheese, they will think of me. Never at a fancy restaurant. Anyway, Trevor R. goes on to say, anyways, glad you put up the Patreon. It sucks that they wouldn't give you any ads to read on your podcast, as I generally think that you could make them pretty entertaining, and they let you pay the bills a little better. But regardless, I went and pledged. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I guess now I'm your pal. Also, I ended up patronizing, that doesn't feel like the right word, Lee's podcast as well. So tell him he owes you $0.25 every time he makes a podcast, because my lazy ass probably wouldn't have made an account just for him. Lee, of course, he's referring to the rapper Intuition. I find it funny how I'm pledging to 2 musicians who don't make music anymore. I mean, I don't know. You must just be referring to him, because I still make music. Since I started this podcast, I've put out fucking 3 albums, put out a bunch of videos. Maybe it just seems like that. I feel like people think that I don't make music anymore because I'm not good at promoting my music. Like, a lot of people don't even know that I put out a joint last year. because I didn't fucking call them up and tell them. I don't know. You can't, I didn't call everybody up and tell them that I put out a mixtape. I sent it out to my email list. I put it on my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, my fucking, what do you want me to do? I still make music. By the way, why aren't there more Wax and Intuition collabs? I would love to get a Clockwise style album from you two. You could call it Bald and Bougie. That's pretty funny. Anyways, here's $4 a month. Go buy yourself something nice. I appreciate that, Trevor R. And my last project, I did a collaboration with Intuition. We had a song on there. So I don't know. Maybe you just didn't hear that. Maybe you just didn't know I put out an album last year. I still make music, man. I don't know how often I have to put stuff out to be considered still making music. But hey, what do you want me to do? But anyway, man, I appreciate you, Trevor R. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I appreciate you trying to light a fire under my ass to make music. It is emails like that make me work a little harder, So good news is I feel like with music you kind of like you're like fire for it goes in and out. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but like sometimes it just really gets into you and you just really get into doing it. And then at other times it kind of feels like work and like a process. And I feel like I've learned that during those times, it's best just to not do it and live life, and you'll start to garner more experiences to write about when the wave of inspiration does hit you. And for me personally, like I find other creative outlets too, like comedy and doing this podcast and shit like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, right. But right now I'm super, super into making music. So right now is one of those times, and I'm working on shit. Acoustic Mondays. It might not be your cup of tea, but I'm making music. And let me tell you something. It is my bag in that tea. Okay. Let's see. This one is from Olek from Poland. Hey, man. This is a long email, but before you get to it, I just want to say that I can't wait for your acoustic album, that I think it's great you finally opened your Patreon. Wow. I'm going to chip in as well. And when's the 80s project coming out? This summer? Now to the heavy stuff. All right. I think I already talked about that stuff in this podcast. In the last podcast, you talked quite extensively about ending the religious freedom as a way to combat the Islamic terrorists, I suppose. I'm not sure if you were 100% for it with specific plans as to how to implement this. Let me share some thoughts with you on this subject. First of all, no, I definitely don't have any specific plans on how to implement that. I probably was just kind of speaking off the top of my head, but I will say, before I read your thing, I will say my point really is that I just wish, I know it's impossible to put into practice, but I wish that people just didn't believe in these stupid books. I wish that people just didn't. I wish that I mean, in a sense, I wish that I could impose my will onto all religious people and make them understand that it's very unlikely that A, God wrote your book, and B, that only yours is right. I just think that's highly unlikely. All right, let's move on in Oleg's thing. Let's start with this. How about banning all religions? Sounds like a socialist state, am I right? Or a totalitarian one? Totalitarian is a fun word to say. Something like a North Korea or Mao's China, where only one religion or worldview is allowed. This is not the way to go for the democratic state, I think. So maybe we only want to ban one religion. There has been an attempt here in Poland to push for a constitutional ban of Islam on the grounds of it being a totalitarian ideology. The lady, Miriam Shadid, who came up with the idea, was laughed at. And trust me, Poland is not very fond of Muslims, even though, or perhaps because, we only have a 0.5% of them in our country. Refugees are not. You can't just ban a single religion. This would only lead to hostilization of the certain group of people. You don't really want the entirety of the Muslims in your country, yet alone continent, to feel threatened, do you? That would be precisely what the ISIS wants. Even more people in Europe vulnerable to radicalization. And coming back to the analogy of the socialist state, do you think the ban was working? I understand your frustration. The Manchester situation was horrible, as were all the terrorist attacks in the last years. After every single one of those events, I see calls for European leaders to drive the Muslim scum out of their countries And there were so many cries after Le Pen lost, France will fall, it's the end, etc. But where do you think the average Ahmed, I wouldn't have put it like that, who has been living there his whole 20 years of life will go when his country turns against him? The Europeans turned terrorists were all antisocial and in difficult economical conditions to begin with. That's not to say that they should be showered with money, but the problem is not with them just being Muslim. People here in Poland, and I'm sure in the U.S. too, ridicule the French for their solidarity with the victims, the Facebook profile picture and the drawings. They're saying that's not how wars are won, and it does nothing. They often have no idea about the situation in the Middle East, what France is doing there, what Russia is doing there, who's fighting who, and for what reason. They just want those damn Muslims out. Can you imagine mass deportations of Mexicans? Not just the illegal ones, but 2 to 3 generations back. Those with legal right to stay and their whole lives in the U.S. This actually happened in Poland, Ukraine after WW2. And the truth is, as long as Syria is in turmoil, peace won't come for anybody. The religion must sort itself out, and Europe has to deal with ISIS recruiters at hand, which it is. Radical solutions will only produce radical outcomes, ones that we're not ready for. Sorry for the long email, but I wanted to share my perspective with you. I could hear that you were extra upset there, and this upsets me as well. But I'm doing my best not to let the Holocaust happen again, as much as I can do at least. Keep in mind that I'm from Poland and that shit was serious there. Here. On the other hand, people look at me funny when I mention that my MA thesis is about translating African-American vernacular English and Ebonics, about the N-words, etc. Guess I really am in the minority here. Be safe out there. Okay. Well, that is a lot to take in, and let me just kind of cover pretty much all of it by saying I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And when I said that we can't have religious freedom, I didn't really mean like I think that should be like a law on the books. Obviously we can't do it that way. Obviously people are going to believe in their religions, etc. And I understand that it's like really radicalized people that are causing the problem. I think that I was just really trying to say that I wish that people, rather than saying I don't think we should have religious freedom, I just wish we didn't have religion, period. You know? I think that the world would be a better place. I think the world would be less violent. I don't know. As far as the mass deportation and the travel bans and shit, I actually agree with you. I don't think that stuff helps. I think that when people are committing crazy acts of violence, to counteract by committing crazy acts of violence only makes the situation worse. I think the more bombs you drop on Afghanistan and Syria, and especially the way the United States does, where we just casually have a bunch of innocent victims, a bunch of moms and daughters and sons, little kids. I mean, if you think about what if they dropped a bomb on, if there was a terrorist attack in Sherman Oaks and a bunch of innocent children died, it's not going to make us be like, oh, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't fuck with them. Maybe we should change our ways. It's going to make us more mad, angry, and hungry for revenge. I believe part of the solution is in education. I believe that, but the unfortunate thing is I think the extent of the education is that a lot of the things that are taught in the Quran and the Bible, for that matter, about the way we should treat women, the way we should treat gay people, the way you should treat people that don't believe the same thing as you, I think that a lot of the education I would propose would be in direct opposition to what is preached in a lot of the Muslim countries, or even in the Bible Belt of Southern America. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think that violence will solve it. I think it'll make it worse. Yeah. I guess I'm pretty much in agreement with you about most of that. But I will say that we want to say that how am I going to put this? I guess at the end of the day, I'm all for people practicing their religion and doing whatever makes them happy, but it's the moment that what you get out of the religion means killing other people that is the problem. And a lot of that shit comes from the book. The book talks about stoning people, and people stone people. They didn't make that shit up. They got it from the fucking book. All right, one more. This is from B Legend, the former security guard. Wax, how are you doing? My questions are short today. 1, I told you about my trip to Malibu where we do campfire songs. It's in like 3 weeks. Any chance I could get the chords and lyrics for the song Handbasket? Me and my cousin want to perform it around the campfire. Thanks. You said you're going on 6/18. Oh, yeah, that hasn't happened yet. It's June 7th. You're going on June 18th. 2, last podcast you talked about filming Summer Breeze with everyone. Pac was in it, and you said your friend Jody was too. Pac has a song called Jody, and it says Jody is a friend of mine, but you know she could get it. Any relation? I highly doubt it. I think that's just a coincidence. I highly doubt those people are both my friends, but those people are not friends. Those people are not really friends with each other like that. I think he's talking about somebody else. He might even, you never know. He might be just making the shit up. But yeah, that was a fun video shoot. That was question 2. Number 1 was they chords and lyrics for the song Handbasket. As far as the lyrics, maybe I happen to have my guitar right here. As far as the lyrics, you might be able to find that on the internet somewhere. Maybe somebody's put them on Rap Genius or some shit like that. I have no idea. But the chords, see if you can hear me. The chords for Handbasket are F. If you play an F chord, I don't have a fucking pick. Is there a pick in here? God damn it. God fucking damn it. Fuck my balls and lick my ass. Ooh, hey, I just don't know how to play. This is the kind of thing you need a pick to play. Fuck, I don't even have it. Here's a pack of rolling papers. That's the closest thing I got to a pick. This is really difficult. So the first chord is F. The standard F bar chord if you start on the first fret. So if you just read down the thing, 1 3 3 2 1 1. That's so you bar the whole first fret. Standard major chord. And then fucking B flat. So that's on the A string 1 and 3 3 3. Just those. Bam. And then back to the F for that, and then fucking C. So 3 5 5 5, and dun 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 1 3 3 3, and then 1 2 1 3 3 2 1 1. Those are only chords. It's a standard blues progression, man. F, B flat. Wait, no, yeah, F, B flat, and C. I believe those are the only chords in that song. And boom, you want to pick the top, that boom, doom, 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 like a country thing. Watch the video and you can kind of see what I'm doing. I hope that fucking helps. I don't know if there's lyrics written down somewhere, but you might have to try to find that out for yourself. If you can't, email me and I'll send you the lyrics. I might have them. Maybe I have them written down. I think I have them in my Notepad app. I think I wrote those in my Notepad app on my phone, so I could send them to you if need be, bro. But hit me up if you can't find them online. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening. Have a good rest of your week, and be safe out there.